Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into a special edition of the Auburn Live Recruiting Show. I am your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. And I say special edition because we've got a special show for you today. It's mainly to introduce our newest team member. I'm freaking stoked. I've been battling this dude for 10 years. I worked indirectly with him a little bit at Rivals, but he was doing his thing, I was doing my thing, and I've been chasing him for the past 10 years on the Auburn beat, and I'm so excited to have Mr. Keith Niebuhr join the Auburn Live on 3 family. Got him online here. Keith, welcome, big dog.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I mean, chasing's a little bit of a reach. The Auburn market is an underrated market. I've always felt this way. There's a lot of good people that have a lot of good inside sources in recruiting, particularly,
Sure.
but obviously the team as well. I mean, guys we've worked for and guys we worked for, guys we worked with, and guys we've worked against. But yeah, I mean, for a while at my last stop, I worked with our buddy Jason Caldwell, and for a long time, you and I competed against him, and then he became a guy that worked really closely with me, and a guy that I've really grown to love as a person more than anything
Sure.
else. I mean, that's what I like about Jason. I mean, obviously he does good work, but no, it's exciting. I mean, there was a time where I didn't think look, I just left 24/7 on May 31st. That was my last day. I loved it, every minute being there. And there was a time, and I think you know this, Jeff, that I was going to cover because I'd kind of sort of kept you in the loop until recently when I wasn't allowed to. But the plan was to move to Florida and cover Florida. And that's where I went to school. And it was no slight against Auburn in any way. I'd covered Auburn for 9 years. Hell, that's the longest I've ever stayed in one position. And, I wanted to be in Florida. Obviously, I'm not going to lie. Money was one issue or one reason. I still have friends that work at Florida because I grew up in Gainesville. I mean, I'm from Miami, but really grew up in Gainesville. And then also I wanted to be close to my mother, who was getting older. And, when my dad died, Jeff, and I'm doing all the talking here, but when my dad
Good.
died, I was in college, and God, I would go over to the student paper, and I could walk to the hospital he was in, dying with a brain tumor. But I was not there for my mom. So I always made a promise to myself more than anybody that I would be there when my mom needed me. And, just kind of as chance would have it, I got down here last fall and covered Auburn from afar. And I felt like I still covered them fairly well, but not maybe what I had done 5 years ago, let's say. But then my mother had some complications after heart surgery a few weeks ago and didn't make it. And that really changed a lot of my thinking. Would I love to cover Florida again? Sure. Someday, maybe. I've covered them before, and I had fun. I always had fun. A lot of good people there. A lot of similarities really between the two places, to be honest with you. A lot of good people at both. A lot of great people at both. But then this opportunity presented itself, and Shannon Terry, who we both work for, and I've worked for a lot of years, the founder of On3 and previously founded 24/7 Sports, he said, "Would you be interested in doing this?" And at first I didn't think, yeah, maybe not, or maybe not. I get nervous. Sorry. But then as the weeks went on, it just felt like, why not? Why not keep doing what I'm doing? I'm in a pretty good comfort zone. We know a lot of people at Auburn, a lot of great people, like I said. And really the response when I announced who am I really? Nobody. But when I announced I was leaving 24/7, the response from Auburn people was just really kind of, after losing my mom a couple weeks earlier and then that, and it just felt like the right thing to do. So let's just take it year by year right now and not think too far into the future, and because you're not guaranteed all that stuff. So it felt like it'd be a fun year to cover Auburn. Can they make a rise? Will they not make a rise? Will they? I mean, who knows what's going to happen? A lot of exciting things happening in recruiting. And it's kind of, I just kind of want to see how things turn out in a sense. And
I'll tell you.
it's hard to walk away from Auburn. Our good friend, we have, well, I don't want to give it away, but we have some good friends, Jeff, that are in the business, and they're older than us, and they thought, oh man, this will be it, one more season. And then they love it so much because Auburn's such an awesome and unique place. And it is hard to say goodbye to Auburn. I found out it's very hard to say goodbye.
Well, Keith, I'm excited personally to have you on the same team as me, but I'm also excited, and I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but it's the damn truth. I'm excited for our subscribers.
Yeah.
And and the commitment that Shannon Terry has made to this site. If hiring you on top of what we've got with Cole and Justin and myself, and the contributors that we have doesn't mean a lot. It means a lot to me because one thing about you, Keith, and this was for the past 10 years, you're working against me, but was you all, I love this about you. You wanted your subscribers, you felt you were so loyal to your subscribers. You wanted them to feel like they were cheating you by only paying, $8 a month for the information you were giving. You wanted them to walk away from that day going, man, I got my money's worth. And that was all, still is one of the things that I admire about you is the care and the awareness, the empathy you have for the subscribers. And we've already been talking about our plans moving forward as a team.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Keith. We've kind of talked about it off there, but tell the subscribers kind of what you plan on bringing.
Well, if I could first address what you just said, and I don't think I'm anything special for feeling, that subscribers deserve a lot. And by the way, let's just be honest, Jeff. There's people on your board. I've been following your board. There's people that don't like me. That's fine. That's
welcome
fine.
to my. I got them too, big dog.
But that's okay, man. That's okay. There's a couple specific ones. There's in particular that I know can't stand me. That's fine, man. That's fine. But you know what? I don't want. I mean, I hope they change their mind. But are they getting their money's worth? That's important. And I came from. I have a true journalism background. I don't know who does and who doesn't. I don't care. But I'm saying I came from the newspaper world.
Yeah, me too.
Where I couldn't have dreamed of being compensated the way we're compensated, where if our site does well, we make more money. I mean, it's that simple. That's who Shannon Terry is. That's the kind of boss he is. That's the kind of guy you want to work for. You always feel like you have skin in the game. Like if your site performs at a high level, you're going to be rewarded every single time. And, but really, and I said this in my going away thing from the other thing, the other position at 24/7, which by the way was a great place to work, great people, unbelievable people. I mean, people, I see people on the boards making fun of my buddy Ronnie Sanders, but he was really good to me,
Sure.
and he takes it all in stride. That's what's so awesome about him. But anyway, the thing I said, and I meant this, they say, I'd always heard if you love Auburn people will love you back. Well, I have a different kind of love for Auburn. I didn't grow up in Alabama. I didn't grow up an Auburn fan. I didn't go to Auburn. I haven't worshiped Auburn sports. I haven't lived and died with Auburn sports. But I when I started covering Auburn in 2013, it became pretty clear right away, Jeff, that if you showed an appreciation of Auburn, all things Auburn, not just the school, but the people, the history. I love the history.
Respect.
The history, yeah. Guys that you and I know that know the history. I think of Philip Marshall. I think of Jay Tate. Brian Matthews, those guys know, and I know I probably shouldn't be talking about competitors. Those guys know the history. Jason Caldwell, I love picking their brains. And so if you show a genuine interest in something, people, what I found is if you showed a genuine interest in Auburn people saw that as love and they loved you back. And I'm telling you, and I say this all the time, and I obviously you love your alma mater. Am I going too much, Jeff?
No, not at all. No, I was swatting away on that.
we had video here, and I'm like, "What's Jeff's giving me the hook already here?" Jeez. But no, if and you obviously love the schools you go to, and I love the University of Florida, and no doubt it was a fun place, fun time. But people at Auburn have always treated me like I went to Auburn. It's really kind of interesting. It's kind of, and again, I keep going back to the same thing. When I announced a couple of weeks ago I was leaving 24/7 and Auburn Undercover, it was just like the affection shown to me was just amazing. It was really, I don't know, it's crazy. But anyway, so what are we going to do? So one of the things we can do to kind of, what is better, Jeff? I mean, there's stories that I write better than you and stories you write better than me, but that's subjective, right? That is truly subjective. People have different tastes. But what's not subjective is who's doing more, who's providing the most intel behind the scenes. And intel is, we want to make readers feel, we want to make readers feel that they are in Auburn. Okay. That we're going to be their eyes and ears, not going to be, y'all are already doing it. I'm just going to be adding to it, but their eyes and ears in Auburn. Cause when you go to Auburn, or if you just grew up an Auburn fan, you may at some point in life move to Bozeman, Montana, or Chicago, or New York, or, Miami, or whatever. So it's our duty, not our job, but our duty to the people that pay all this money to basically, so I'm getting all these texts, of course. It's basically our duty. No, it's basically our duty to, I'm going to shoot this person a message here back. It's our duty to provide them with the coverage. So they, hang on. Sorry about that, Jeff. It's ridiculous. It's our duty to people that pay to have our eye on the ball, just as I proved the exact opposite there by responding to a text message. But no, being the eyes and ears, making people feel like they're in Auburn. Yes, 85,000, or excuse me, 89, 88,000, 86,000 go to Jordan-Hare Stadium for games, but they can't be there during the week. They can't be there for recruiting visits. If you and I see Carl Lawson show up and he's in a cast, we tell him. I mean, we're their eyes and ears. And so that's important. But then also, how else can you differentiate your coverage? More content, more intel, but being places, just showing up. And we know, without giving too much away, we want to get on the road. We want to take Auburn Live, subscribers across the South, which is Auburn's main recruiting footprint. Now, my promise to everybody here is if they're recruiting a quarterback in LA, one of us is going to go do a big feature on him. If it's a guy they have a legitimate shot.
Right.
Auburn was actually surprisingly in it with that kid Rashawn Gary a few years ago, who ended up, 5-star defensive lineman from New Jersey. So we went up there. I went to see Calvin Ashley, another 5-star offensive tackle. Went up to Washington to see him. Shot the commitment video for a receiver from Maryland a few years ago that Auburn got. So, we want to not just put you in Auburn, but we want to take you around the country to introduce you to the kids that are recruiting across the country. Now, in the past, a lot of those times, Jeff, and I've fallen short of this goal. I've gone and I've written the standard recruiting updates. And I think the next step is I got to get back to my roots and start telling their stories more than just the recruiting. Who are these people? Let readers get to know them. So those are kind of some of the things we want to do. And we hope that people think we'll do a good job. We hope they'll subscribe. I mean, Jeff, some people subscribe to one site, some people subscribe to multiple sites, but we hope that we're one of the ones they choose. And, we got a lot of good pieces. You guys already had good pieces. I hope maybe I can add another, little dynamic to it. I love covering Auburn. I never was, unhappy covering Auburn. It's just, your mind starts wandering after several years. Jeff, I think we've all been there before. Mm. Is this what I want to do forever? Do I want to be in this market? Do I want to live
taxing?
Life happens, man. Life happens. And everybody listening's gone through this at times. I mean, my dad had multiple jobs. He worked all over the place. As a young guy, he was, and he died when I was a sophomore in college, but he worked for the U.S. Treasury Department, and his job was to fly all over the country. So we barely saw him. So he changed jobs so he could see us some more, which after dealing with me and my two siblings, he probably regretted it pretty quickly. But, things change, and I'm excited about this change. And, I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do. And, hopefully we can do a really good job of it. And hopefully everybody, like you said, feels like they're getting their money's worth. That's the main thing. I mean, you and I didn't come from rich families. We appreciate the value of the dollar, what it means for people to spend money on these sites. And we really do believe that. It's not just us talking. We've talked about this before. In all those days, Jeff, when we would sit over at the Auburn Athletic Complex for 12 hours to get maybe one or two interviews, we would talk about everything. And everything means everything, by the way. But anyway, and it's a special place. I'm lucky to be able to still cover Auburn. Let's put it that way. Fortunately.
Well, I know you've been away for maybe a month now, kind of stepped back, taking it slow. Had your mother died, and I tell you what, man, that really broke my heart because I knew what you had planned, and but I was grateful that you got a jump start and was able to be down there with her. And, that made it a little better. But you've been away for not really away, but you've backed off a little bit. But as of now. What we all know Auburn's got 2 commitments. I think you're probably still working when Terrence Love committed.
Yeah.
Auburn's got 2 commitments, had a big weekend this past weekend, got another huge weekend coming up this weekend and the weeks thereafter. And all of June is going to be stacked every weekend with top recruits. Keith, kind of what is your impression? General vague impression on what's going on at Auburn this year. And have you seen the difference from a year ago?
Yeah, and can I backtrack 1 second too?
Sure.
They're probably going to kill me for mentioning people I used to work with, but these are people I respect, just as I always respected you. I didn't mention Dukes, our guy Dukes.
Yeah, man.
Love that guy. Love that guy. And by the way, I don't think it's a bad thing to recognize good people at your competition.
Not at all.
You know
Not
why?
at all.
Here's the thing. They're going to make us better. I know what those guys are capable of, and I know that I'm going to have to be sharp. But anyway, what was your question? What do I make of the
Christian too, man? I think he's a young guy. I got to mentor him a little bit at Rivals, and Christian and Dukes both at Auburn Undercover now.
Yeah.
I think both of those. I love Dukes. I got to meet him back in January, I believe, at a junior day. And if I didn't have babysitting duties that night, I would have went and tossed a few back with him.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. What was your question? Was where do I think of Auburn recruiting right now?
Yeah. Just I don't expect you to know, who's all coming in this weekend and where they're going to end up. But have you? The biggest thing for me, Keith, is a big difference from a year ago, and we both were in it a year ago, and we kind of. The staff was just kind of figuring it out. They're coming off of COVID and visits were starting to kick back up. We felt like they were way behind and never really got caught up. Finished respectively, but respectively, yeah,
respectfully, maybe.
No, respectfully, not respectively, respectfully. But to me, Keith, I've seen a big difference in this year. I've seen a lot more. Shoot, man, I've seen the visitor list grow. It's a lot easier to get kids on campus this summer. And been highly impressed with Christian Robinson, with Jimmy Brumbaugh, with Ike Hilliard, the three new guys. I love the move from Jeff Schmedding out of the linebacker spot to the defensive coordinator. Keyshaw to offensive coordinator has opened up these guys like Ike Hilliard and Christian Robinson.
I'll tell you what I can do, Jeff. Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
There's three guys you just mentioned all have connections to the place I grew up and the place I went to school, the first three guys. So let me just tell you what I know about those guys. So Ike Hilliard, I happened to cover in college, and he was an intelligent, high IQ guy back when he played for Florida, when he played for Spur. He was in one of those receiving classes where they brought in a bunch of studs, and from the jump, he was a guy that made plays and made a difference. But in every single interview, we came away thinking, even as a freshman, now he had a huge game against Auburn as a freshman. Sure. I believe Auburn won that game, the 94 game down in Gainesville, but Ike was big.
Last second.
That's right. Unbelievable game. Pat Nix to Frank Sanders, right? But Ike Hilliard was, how do I say it? Mentally IQ is mental acuity, whatever. He was just smarter than everybody else you interviewed his age.
Very intelligent.
Incredibly bright guy. And by the way, now 30 years later, 28 years later, I hear the same thing about him. I hear these same things about Ike Hilliard. I'm actually really good buddies. I don't want to give away the name of the guy, but I'm really good friends with somebody who worked with him. I believe it was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, if my memory's right now. My mind's all over the place. And they love the guy to death. Love the guy to death. So Ike Hilliard, bright guy. Jimmy Brumbaugh, I've known for years. I went to high school in Gainesville, Florida. He went to high school in Keystone Heights, Florida. Little tiny school. Wasn't really recruited hard by Florida until the very end, but by then he knew where he was going, and it was Auburn. And in that area, if you've been to Keystone Heights, there's not a lot of Division I football players come out of there. You got to be something special. You got to have that dog. And when college football coaches recruit, what do they call it? The muck, Pahokee and Belgrade, those areas down there, they say those kids always had dog in them. They had fight in them. Well, Keystone Heights isn't anywhere near there. It's quite frankly halfway between Jacksonville and Gainesville. But Jimmy Brumbaugh had that dog in him. He had that fight in him. And then you saw that as a player. Again, he was not great competition in high school, not a school that produced any Division I players that I can remember besides him. And yet he had the fight to get out of there. And you still see that tenacity today as a recruiter. Look, he's had some, you don't hit every fastball, every pitch that comes your way, but he sure is making some aggressive swings out there and trying his hardest to get Auburn in contention with guys. And you're seeing guys like Sadir, is it Mitchell? The big defensive tackle from New Jersey visit. And, guys like that, you're seeing kids from all over the South and all up and down the Eastern Seaboard on the defensive line visiting Auburn.
Hunter Osborne, Jamal Jarrett.
That's right. And these are going to be tough gets. We know that.
Right.
But Jimmy is putting Auburn in position, and maybe he doesn't get all these guys this year. Maybe he doesn't get half of them. Maybe he doesn't get any of them. But he's laying the groundwork. He's doing the work, and it's going to pay off at some point. There's no question about it. Just a matter of when. And then you have Christian Robinson, who apparently, when he was at Florida, linebackers coach before he got to Auburn, was such a nice guy. Now, at Auburn, Jeff, you and I had the luxury for many years of working inside in the air conditioning at the Auburn Athletic Complex. And we'd get fed. Remember, like if there were extra food, it wasn't like the Auburn coaches were cooking for us, but if there was extra food that was getting ready to be thrown away, a guy like Rodney Garner would say, "Hey, guys, finish this off." And it was unbelievable that they
Andy George is.
Oh, my God. But it was always him or actually, it was usually Rodney, quite frankly, that would give us. But anyway,
he'd come in there and get everything and then say, "All right, y'all can have the rest."
Well, at Florida, the writers, every school is different. The writers have to sit out in the sun for 6 hours and wait for the visits to end, and then they interview him outside. And it's my understanding one year, last year, I want to say Christian Robinson, at least on one occasion, he bought them some kind of meal and brought it to the reporters. He bought it himself. Now, maybe I'm getting something wrong in the story, but the bottom line is he's one of the nicest guys out there. In fact, I met him. I went to go see Jadarian Rim, the Auburn freshman cornerback. I went to one of his games the Friday night before the Florida-Georgia game last year. It was in Valdosta, and Christian Robinson drove over from Ponte Vedra, just south of Jacksonville, and he was at the game. And I introduced myself, and I'd heard so many great things about him through the years. I actually know a few people on the Florida staff, and they're like, "Oh man, you got to meet this guy. He's the real deal." And I met him, and guess what? He was the real deal. Unbelievably nice, unbelievably kind, and just gracious, and like, hey, so tell me about your job. Tell me about what you do. Tell me about you. Where are you from? And it wasn't contrived. And then I understood why he was in so many key recruitments at Florida, why he was able to pull some guys, quite frankly, away from Auburn,
absolutely,
in Alabama, and. It didn't work out at UF for him, with the Mullins staff, Dan Mullins staff, but a guy that knows Atlanta all the way down to Valdosta, quite frankly, so does Steven Ruzick, by the way, the Auburn's director of player personnel. His dad was a well-known coach in Warner Robins. That's been a great asset. He knows a lot of coaches throughout the state. Auburn's got to do well in Georgia, obviously, and I think Christian Robinson and Ruzick too, but Christian Robinson's a guy that all the kids in Florida remember him, so he's going to get you in the game with those kids. He's done well in Alabama, and he's done really well in Georgia. So he's, again, I think I really feel like, I don't know, you hate saying this because you don't want to always grade coaches, but it feels like, at least in recruiting, bringing those three guys in, Auburn, upgrade seems like a harsh word.
I have used it.
Yeah, because Mason, Derek Mason, Nick Eason, Burt Watts, those guys, and obviously Burt Watts was replaced by somebody different, but
Rock's been great too. Rock,
yeah, no kidding. What a great find that was.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I went to a camp down in Fort Lauderdale in late February, and everybody there is like, "Oh man, we're so happy that Rock got that gig at Auburn," and coming up to me and telling me that, people. So I feel like Auburn upgraded in the recruiting sense. Now I'm not saying they downgraded in the coaching. I'm saying, who knows, right? We'll see. So I like what they've done there, and guys that really understand the lay of the land. So Rock gets you in Florida. C-Rob gets you in Florida. Jimmy has worked. Mobile's been his area before. North Columbus in his area. Yeah, and again, he grew up in Florida, so he knows the lay of the land down there. And then who was the other one we're mentioning? Oh, Ike Hilliard. Now recruiting,
Louisiana.
Recruiting's a little new to him, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Again, what did I tell you? He's a very bright guy. He's smarter than me and you put together, probably, Jeff, which ain't saying a whole hell of a lot. But
yeah, well, give him
really
credit now.
And in Louisiana, which again, that was a huge get for Steve Spurrier, to go to Louisiana and get him, so he knows the message. You don't have to stay in Louisiana. In other words, he's been through this. Now, he picked a different school, but he's been through what a lot of these kids in Louisiana are going through right now. Hey, look, LSU's a great place, no doubt. And I don't think that, my guess is Ike Hilliard's not a negative recruiter. Seems like an above board guy.
Right.
Now, who knows, right? But I feel like for everything I've
of course
ever
not. No, man.
Yeah, for 30 years, nobody's ever said a bad word about the guy to me. The funny thing is, I doubt he even remembers me. I was just a student journalist back then interviewing him, but first class all the way, treated all of us great. But, you feel like those guys give you a little edge over what you brought in year one. Now, Derek Mason knew the lay of the land in the SEC, but he was recruiting a different kind of kid at Vanderbilt, right? He wasn't he wasn't having to battle against Florida, Georgia, Miami, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame, USC, Texas. So, a little different challenge. And by the way, not knocking him at all. Personally love the guy. Right. I thought he was great. But Nick Eason was coming from the NFL and hadn't recruited in college yet. Burt Watts was coming from, where was his last stop? Memphis or Fresno?
Fresno.
Okay. So, he hadn't worked in the SEC, I don't believe. They didn't sign any.
Didn't have any ties down here. Didn't have any ties.
That's right. And by the way, he must be a pretty damn good coach if the Denver Broncos scooped him up.
Right.
So we're not knocking the guy, but he didn't have the ties, and so all these guys know the lay. I know we're going long here, Jeff, but all the guys knew the lay. All these guys seem to know the lay of the land. Even Ike Hilliard, who doesn't have the recruiting resume per se, but yet he's from the boot in Louisiana, and he kind of gets it. You know what I mean? I think he kind of gets that. So I feel like they've
already,
Yeah, that's significant. Yeah. Now, again, they got to get out and get guys. They got 2 commitments. Now, not a lot of schools have a ton of commitments. It's funny, Jeff, a few years ago, and this would have been pretty normal then to have 2 commitments. Then all of a sudden, everybody was getting 15 commitments by July. And now it's kind of going back to the old ways because people are waiting on that NLI stuff, and the whole dynamic has changed. You know what I mean? So, I think go ahead.
Well, what you've talked about is getting these coaches being able to get these kids on campus, putting Auburn, and I wrote about this on the corner today.
Yeah, that's good.
Earlier in the week is you're putting yourself in a position. The key here is winning. You go out there and you go 4-8 this year, it doesn't matter. The key for Auburn, and I've said this on a couple of shows before, Keith, is I don't know what the win total is for Auburn, but they need to make some noise, man. They need to make some noise, right? Yeah. And that's winning a couple of games you shouldn't, winning all the games that you should, and then surprising a couple of people, making some noise, man, making these kids believe that you're heading in the right direction. And if that happens, what these coaches have done already and are doing in this summer is positioning Auburn to capitalize on making some noise in the fall. So you go and you make some noise this fall. You're talking, I don't know what it would rank. Don't care what it would rank. All I know is that there will be some stud recruits signing with Auburn come December. I really believe that. I really believe that they've put themselves in position. Rob having Jaden Osbury come in, got to close there with his brother on campus. Got Lewis Carter coming, 2 weeks? You've got CJ Allen, you've got D. Creighton, all 4-star linebackers coming to take official visits to Auburn. Rock Bellantoni, you got Ruben Bain coming up. You've got Keldrick Falk coming over this weekend, 2 top edges. Ike got Auburn back in the mix with Carmelo English. Got Lamar Seymour, who's committed to Miami and from South Florida, is coming up for an official visit. A lot of these guys, Jimmy Brumbaugh, we've already talked about him, getting Jamal Jarrett down for an official visit. Sydir Mitchell's coming down from New Jersey. So a lot of big name guys are visiting Auburn, which puts Auburn in a position to be able to capitalize should they make some noise in the fall.
Well, Jeff, I'll even add to that a little bit different take because you've been way more plugged in lately than me. But I'll even say, just suppose you're 6-5, and you've by the way, 6-5 with next year's schedule wouldn't be that's it's a tough schedule. But let's suppose you're 6-5, getting ready to play Bama, but that recruiting class is solid. It's solid, and they've seen something. Maybe you don't have 8, 9, 10 wins, but they've seen something. Well, a recruiting class can keep a coach around too. You know what I mean? Hey, look, this year didn't go as planned, but look at the future. And this is an important recruiting class. This may be the most important one we've seen in the last several years, Jeff, because, this past year was okay. Not great, not bad. Some good players. Are there any difference makers? We'll see. A good quarterback. We know that. But the year before, the transitional class obviously was hard. That hurt. That hurt Auburn because that's.
Oh yeah.
That hurt. Forget about the rankings. Just who did you beat to land guys? Who did you take? How many of those guys are still there? How many are not there? That hurt. There's no question about it. So what you can't do is have 3 classes in a row that are below Auburn standards. Now, again, I don't want to knock this last class. We don't know what these guys are capable of yet. And they obviously, let me point out one other thing. They signed fewer guys than normal to keep room open for transfers. So even though they were 20th or 21st in I guess it depends on who ranked them. I may be going off my old company's rankings.
Fair enough.
It still wasn't a top 10 class. Okay.
I think they were 18 and on 3.
Okay. It still wasn't the what we're used to seeing from Auburn.
No.
So that means, transitional class below par. Last year, okay, the last class. So now you've absolutely got to put together a strong class. And also, though, kids know that. They know where the opportunity is. They see what Auburn's losing off this team, and they know they can come in and play early. And I know a lot of them say, oh, that early playing time doesn't matter. Oh, give me a break. It matters. It matters. So there's a lot of things in play here, but they've got more pieces behind the scenes, more people that they all seem to be pulling in the same direction. Let's put it that way. I guess
right. Absolutely.
And they know way more what's going on than we do. Of course, I will add though that we can also, what we can do is we can provide what we understand that the feelings they think about things inside Auburn headquarters, but also we have the ability to go find out what people elsewhere think. So that may be the added bonus that a coaching staff doesn't always know. Okay, well, we know what the kid's telling us as coaches and staffers, but what do the other schools think? So again, that's all part of our coverage, and we hope can enhance, the Auburn live experience for people.
Is that how you spell your name?
Yeah, you don't know how to spell my name?
You spell it K-E-I?
Keithniebuhr.
That's what I thought.
It's a great German name. Yeah.
Try Vega.
Very regal. When are we going to go play some golf, man?
Dude, last time I did that, I threw a damn hernia. I had a herniated disc. I threw my back out.
Oh, I had a hernia operation in the last week of January, and that wasn't too fun, Jeff. I gotta tell you, man.
That's better than a hemorrhoid.
Well, I wouldn't know about that, but yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
I don't know what.
Yeah, I got the scars to remind me. But yeah, we got to get out there and play some golf,
dude. Let's go.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what. You go get situated down in Miami. I've never been to Miami.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going to live yet. We should tell everybody, because right now, I mean, the reality is this all kind of happened fast, and I'm actually living temporarily in my mom's house. I mean, everybody doesn't need to know all whatever. I'm probably getting a little too deep here, but we're going to get her house ready to put on the market, and I'm taking care of it right now. So I'm in Orlando, but this is a good thing. We already have you, Cole, and Justin in that Auburn area, right? You guys are all right in there. And I know Cole lives a little bit west of town, but so now me being not in the area, and by the way, all those years at 24/7, I never lived in Auburn. No. I lived in Atlanta, but I drove over to Auburn so much that some of the coaches were surprised that I didn't live there. But me living in Florida right now, at least, and who knows where I'm going to be in 2 months, that means I have to get on the road. So if you're a reader, that's a good thing. I have no choice but to get on the road and get you content that you're not going to get other places. That's just I have no choice. That's the only way I'm going to keep my job, quite frankly. So hopefully we can tell some stories that are unique, and we'll do our best.
I thought you said it best earlier when you were talking about from Orlando up to Atlanta, over to Birmingham, down to Mobile. I mean, you draw that perimeter, you drive that perimeter, and you're getting. I mean, you're getting to probably 60 or 70% of, maybe more, right?
Yeah, I call it the loop, basically, up to Atlanta. And sometimes you go into the Carolinas, like they're recruiting a couple of guys in the Carolinas, which I love. You and I both love the Carolinas. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you got to go over into Mississippi. But by and large, up I-75, over 20 to Birmingham, and sometimes to Huntsville. But again, off that main road, then down to Mobile, which takes you through Montgomery and Prattville and Madhouse Training, and then through the Panhandle. And you're going to get so many of the kids in this current class and future classes that are considering Auburn. And quite frankly, that's where most of your Auburn fans are too. I see Auburn stuff everywhere. Okay. And so no, it's fun. It's fun getting on the road. It'll be great to get back out there. Yeah. Jeff, with the pandemic, it kind of was like an excuse to not travel anymore.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know about you, but I felt like most of us in the industry got a little lazy.
Oh yeah.
And so it's going to be good to get back out there and see places. And look, I always keep my golf clubs in the car, and if it's 5:00 and I'm done, and I'm in I'm in Oxford, Alabama, I'm gonna go hit some balls somewhere and decompress. Oh yeah,
I got the swing, man. I got that Freddie Couple swing.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, well, that Charles Barkley slice.
Well, I'll let your readers go here, or our listeners, excuse me, go.
There you go.
Yeah. But after my hernia operation, I couldn't swing for several weeks, and one of my high school teammates, Jeff, is a teacher at the Rick Smith Golf Center at Trump Doral down in Miami. High school golf teammate of mine. He said, "Why don't you come on down?" He's great. He won't let me pay him because we're lifelong friends. And he said, "Do you want to tweak your swing, which isn't bad, or do you want to rebuild it?" And I said, "Let's rebuild it." He goes, "Okay, we got to fix your swing." So after a minute after telling me it wasn't bad, he said, we got to fix it big time then. I said, "Well, how did I score?" I've always shot, I have bad rounds, 90, 91, 92, but I've always been around 80. And I go, "How am I even shooting anywhere near 80 anywhere with a terrible swing?" And he goes, "Simple." And Jeff, this probably applies to you too. And I don't know if your swing is good or bad, but he goes, hand-eye coordination. If you have good hand-eye coordination, you can compensate for just about anything. He said, "But let's build you a real swing." And I've had 2 lessons. He's given me 2 more. I've added 2 clubs. I'm hitting 7 irons, 180 yards. And I've only played twice. Now, all year, it's practice. I've only played twice. The first round, I went to Torrey Pines and shot 90 and wanted to jump off the cliffs into the Pacific. And then
in celebration.
Well, no. And then the week after my mom passed away, I just needed a breather. And unfortunately, she died just a couple miles from the University of Florida. And I went over and I played that course. And Jeff, I kid you not, I shot 73. And so I haven't shot 73 since I was a kid. So whatever they're teaching me is working. It's taken a lot of that. I don't want to. People have already tuned out now, but it's taking all the dispersion, the shot dispersion out. You know what I mean? So I recommend the Rick. That's my first plug. The Rick Smith Golf Center in Miami is awesome, and in fact, I've already gotten a few other people to go get lessons, and they've had fun. But I just wanted to build a swing that would last for all eternity. Now, can I beat Jason Caldwell? Probably not, but I'll try my best.
Yeah, I want to go play.
By the way, Jeremy Roberts, who you and I both know, who head of operations over at Auburn.
He can swing the sticks.
Dude, that guy's around par every round. So
really,
I don't think I can play with him, but I can maybe at least.
You got to watch Jeremy.
Something to think about, maybe. I don't know.
Nah, I'm just messing with you.
Anyway.
All right, Keith. Well, that sounds good, man. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
I know we can sit here and talk, and we will in the future. We're going to have podcasts. We're going to talk more about recruiting. We wanted to get you welcomed, man. We wanted to get these subscribers fired up. I know there's a special going on today, Wednesday, for Auburn Live subscribers to.
We got to keep track. We got to keep track of all those that unsubscribe too. Hopefully, there's plus side. But
I'm taking notes. But man, we're looking forward to having you, Keith. I know those subscribers are going to be pumped. The new ones are going to be pumped, and we're looking all as a team to our subscribers to doing what we said earlier in the show, and that's making sure you feel like you're getting your money's worth. Hey, so look for Keith starting today on Wednesday and providing even more coverage with Auburn Live on 3. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for signing up. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for letting us do our job and the things that we love. We really appreciate y'all, and hope you have a great day. Hope you help me welcome Keith to the site. For Keith Niebuhr, I'm Jeffrey Lee. See you.